Just tell us what we have been hearing from the witnesses this day.
Witness F has been on the stand today, like the 5 witnesses yesterday, giving testimony from behind a curtain with his voice distorted. Again, it was a man. We had 2 women and 3 men give testimony yesterday. Today, a man, witness F is a man. His testimony has been interesting. It mirrors what we've heard from the others, that they were picked up in jail right after the attack on Saddam Hussein in the hours and day right after, transported to an intelligence headquarters in Baghdad where the conditions were crowded, with little food, with hot water, where they were tortured every day, then taken to Abu Ghraib after about 3 weeks, a prison on the outskirts of Baghdad. Conditions there were bad, he described, then being taken to a detention facility in the desert where they had to walk many kilometers to go and get water. What was interesting about his testimony, very early on in his testimony, when describing how he was picked up and arrested at his house, he said they came to his house and they blindfolded him. And then a little later he describes how while he was blindfolded, at somewhere in the town of Jujail where he was arrested, he described Barzan Hassan al-Takriti, Saddam Hussein's half-brother, being asked questions by the guard. He was asked, the witness F said, the guard asked Barzan, what should we do with him now? And Barzan said, he may be good for us, we'll keep him. Now, that differed slightly from witness F's deposition that the judge later read out in the court. The judge read the deposition out, and in that deposition it said that witness F had said that he'd been blindfolded, and it later learned from somebody else that Barzan Hassan al-Takriti had been present in Jujail. That was different from his testimony in court, and when Saddam Hussein's half-brother got a chance to challenge the witness in cross-examination about an hour or so later, that's exactly what he challenged on. He said the witness has admitted that he didn't actually see me, that this was information from somebody else, and he said, as everyone knows, that kind of evidence is inadmissible in court. So we're seeing this sort of structured cross-examination taking place this afternoon, Andrew.
Nick, thanks very much for that. We're going to leave it there for the moment with Nick Robertson. We're going to take you back now live, or not live, there is actually a 20-minute delay on this tape, but we're going to go back to the courtroom and listen into what's been going on.
I asked them to give me a letter so that I can present to my employer. They gave me a letter. They took them to Baghdad and I came out. They released me. That's what happened. The city had army and airplanes from the east and west side of the orchards. Every sunset there will be a curfew. Even soldiers, nobody could leave. And we heard the 2 officials. One, his name was Aqil, and the other, I don't know his name. After 4 or 5 days after the accident, my brother was standing across the street from the house. He's about 15, 16 years old. The security forces came to ask about somebody. They asked him where the house, and he told them, gave him direction. Which person? They took them both, that and my brother.
نعم استمر.
Yes, go ahead, continue. My brother was arrested for about 22, 23 days. What's his name? First name.
اذكر اسم اخوك فقط.
Mention the first name.
تذكر اسمه.
أكثر من 20 يوم على
About 20 days, more than 20 days. Afternoon, about 1:30 to 2, the door knocked, and I see 2 security cars,
في كم تويوتا وفيها 10 من مناصب الأمن.
Toyota, and
أعرف خد واحد من عندهم
10 security elements.
رحام
One of them
قال لي
told me,
يلا تهيئوا عندنا استفسار وياكم بعد 10 دقائق.
we need to talk to you about 10 minutes, for about 10 minutes. So
عائلة متكونة من 11 واحد.
we were 11 people, 4 male and 7 female.
خوات خمسة
So we got our ready.
صغير عمره 11
My brother is 11, 12 years at that time.
أخذوني بالسيارات.
They took us by cars. They took us to the police, the women in one hall and the men in another.
وبعد ذلك جابوا عائلة.
After that, they brought another family, Muhannad Zamzam.
رمضوا بالشرطة. الساعة 8:30
About 8:30 or 9, they
وصاحبونا العائلتين.
took us
المخابرات
to the intelligence.
ودونا على غرفة الأمانات.
They took us to the deposit
النساء صارت بجانب.
area,
69 ودونا على غرفة الأمانات.
to hall 69, and they took the women to another area. When they opened the door, they took us to hall 60, each other, old and young, and there's no place for us in that room.
ماكو مكان في ثقة ماكو مكان.
There was no room for us there.
3 أيام.
For 3 days,
نزلونا للتحقيق.
and then they would take us down to interrogation.
استجوبني المحقق.
The interrogator,
من بعض
interrogator, his name was Theater. He interrogated, he asked me to identify myself.
مرة ثانية أبوك متزوج.
As I told him he asked me if my brother was myself.
مرة ثانية أبوك متزوج.
As I told him he asked me if my brother was from the same mother or whether my father had another wife.
فعل هذه الكلمات.
And he said,
صعدونا للقاعة فوق.
they took us back to the hall.
4 أيام.
4 days.
علينا العصر.
After that, they came in the afternoon.
قالوا تتحضرون.
They said, get ready.
أيام.
4 days.
علينا العصر.
After that, they came in the afternoon.
قالوا تتحضرون.
They said, get ready.
حضرونا. ونزلونا من القاعة 69.
They took us from the hall 69 to the
مرسل.
garage, and we got in a Mercedes car.
لقينا عوائلنا قاعدة بيها.
We saw that the families had already been on the car, and other families also. And around sunset, we left the Rasafa
نحو سجن أبو غيب.
towards Abu Ghuraib.
ذبحوا النساء بجانب.
They put the
بجانب.
women in one side and the men on another.
قسمونا كل واحد صار بغرفة.
So we were each in a room. A room had about 10, 15,
صار انهم قسموها بالغرفة.
and the women were in another section.
مرور يوم واحد.
After one day
وثاني يوم.
in Abu Ghuraib, and the second day
الظهر بعد عملية الغداء.
at noon,
الغداء من عندنا.
noontime,
جاء الحرس.
the guards came,
يقف على الباب يقلع.
knocked on the door,
قوم انت قوم انت قوم انت كل
and they would take 2 or 3 from each room,
بما ان فد 20 واحد بالممر.
and they put them in the hall,
أخونكم وازحفوا
and they would ask us to crawl,
والكيبلات تشتغل على ضوءنا.
and they would hit us with the cables.
هاي ثاني يوم بعد ما وصلنا أبو غريب
This was the second day in Abu Ghraib.
اللي هي غير مقبولة ماشية. وإذا قلت ما بيده يقول لك طلع إيدك ويضربك كلمة صوندات.
They would beat us all the time.
لمدة شهر هي هاي الأعمال مستمرة بأبو غريب.
This continued in Abu Ghraib.
دق الجرس وجئت اسماء من بغداد ومن ضمنهم كان اسمي.
They called names and my name was one of them.
منهم اسمي ردونا إلى دائرة التحقيق الموجودة جانب الرصافة.
They took me back to Rasafa.
آخرين
Who were the others that went with you?
كان واحد اسمه ظافر حسن هادي.
Dhafir Hassan Hadi.
يعني في الجنان كثيركم أنا هناك ذاك الوقت.
6 to 8 at that time.
هاشم
One was called Hashim,
حسين
Majid Hussein.
هم 6 ستات.
There were 6 persons.
تذكر
Who do you remember?
تذكر منهم
Who do you remember?
الحاصل
Okay.
ركبونا بالدائرة ما واحد يعرف واحد
In the intelligence,
ركبونا بالممر
in the hall,
واقي على عيوني
they put a blindfold
مدة 15 يوم نايم على الشاشة
for 15 days.
بدون استجواب
I was there, no, not even a
بدون
question,
استجواب.
no interrogation.
All right, it looks like we have having